For this tutorial, I'm going to add style to my page. Because I'm going to be including color, I'm going to open the window for the color palette. So I go, if you're using BB Edit, go to the menu, top menu, window, palettes, and colors. The third option from the left to the right will give you the web save color options. There we go. So the first thing that I'm going to do is change the background color of my body. I go to the open tag of the body and add the attribute style. The description will be background color colon, and then the value. I'm going to look for a color that I want to use. I'm going to use this purple. The moment that I click on the color, is going to apply the color directly to my code. This is the short version of the same color, because the first two characters, the next characters, and the last characters are exactly the same. It summarizes the code to just 3 values. But just to keep things consistent, I'm going to type the additional value to the color code. And I'm going to close this with semicolon. I'm saving the file, refreshing the page in my browser, and the whole page, the background of the page changes color. Because that color and the font don't have a very good contrast, inside of the body, I'm going to change all my font color. Remember that the body controls all the content, all the visual content, so all these rules could be established directly inside of the body. I can later come back and change individual colors to other sections if I need to. So right after my last rule, which is background color, I'm going to hit space and I'm going to establish color. I'm going to use something different that might have a nicer contrast. Perhaps this one. I'm going to modify the code just to keep things consistent, and I'm going to close the rule with semicolon. Saving the file, refresh. So everything that is text is going to change to that particular color. Now, one of the things that is bothering me is that my navigation is very close to the purple that I selected. So I'm going to add a background color just for the navigation. In this case, I'm going to surround the navigation with paragraph. So I have my open paragraph and my closed paragraph. And I'm going to apply style attribute and the rule background color, and choose something that will have a better contrast. So something like this. Completing the code for the color. Saving this. Refresh. Here we go. Now there's a rule that I didn't add on the other variables, and it will be necessary here because my box is touching the text. So I'm going to add a little bit of padding to that box, and I do it right after the background color rule. I'm gonna do this padding, and I'm gonna say, I don't know, 15 pixels of padding. Don't forget to close your rules with semicolon. I'm saving the file and refresh. Here we go. So for the titles, I'm going to change the font of the titles individually. So I'm going to go to H1, in this case heading, style, and establish the font family rule, and I'm going to change this to Arial. Save that, refresh, see how that changes. If you're going to be changing the font family to a font that has 2 words in the name, so I'm going to copy this whole rule, and I'm going to say that the first paragraph is going to be Arial narrow. If the name of the font has 2 words, I need to surround that name with single quotes. The reason for that is that if you leave it without the quotes, the browser will think that you're using 2 different fonts, and it's not going to read the narrow part. So as you can see, it changed this to Arial narrow. Maybe that's not the font that you want to use. Just want to use that as an example. Say that I want to add a border to the image to just make it highlight a little bit. So you can also apply styles to images. So I go to the image tag and I add the style attribute, and I'm going to say border, and I establish the thickness of the border and say 2 pixels. Then the type of border that you want, I'm going to say solid, and then the color, and I'm going to use the same color that I had for the box for the navigation. So I believe it's this one. And BB8 closed the rule for me, but I need to remember to do that just in case. So I'm saving this, refreshing, and now my image has a border. You could also add some padding to that if you want. So I'm going to say padding 5 pixels. Oh, this is wrong. Padding semicolon 5 pixels, then closing the value. Here we go. And if you notice, there's a small variation, a small separation between the border and the image. So you can make combinations of the rules any way you want. For now, I think the small group of rules that we have is enough to play with the code. We're gonna start adding more rules as the semester progresses.